Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win, or you find a way to lose. I guess in Francis Ngannou's case, if you find a way to sign a contract with Jake Paul, then you're either going to find a way to win, or if he chooses to keep going back and forth with, Dana White, he's going to find a way to lose. So Jake Paul is offering a 2-fight contract to Francis Ngannou. Now, although Francis Ngannou is known for being a super tough heavyweight over there in the MMA world, let's be real. If he comes over to boxing, it's a pretty big deal. And also Jake Paul, he's a boxer, all right? So let's just get a man credit. But the thing about this is it's a pretty sweet deal for Francis Ngannou, because his first fight, he gets to finally have a boxing match with what he said was his dream initially when he ended up, leaving Cameroon. And I don't know if you know his whole story, man. His story, a lot of the Cuban boxer stories, even some of the African fighter stories, man, when you hear those stories, man, it's really heart-wrenching, you know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, he somehow made his way over to France, trying to do the boxing thing, didn't work out, got involved in MMA, never turned back. But the sweet thing about it is he finally gets to fulfill his dream of being a boxer, because his first fight, if he takes the contract, will be in boxing. And his second fight, which will be 6 months later, will be in MMA. Now, one thing we know is he hasn't even cracked $1 million over in the UFC, which is a foul when you look at the kind of money that our guys are making. And then you look at the kind of money that Francis Ngannou makes for the UFC. And they won't even give this man 30% of that. And that's a foul. So he's been trying to renegotiate the contract. He hasn't fought since January of 2022, I believe. And he's still sitting here trying to sort things out. But now he's walking around, and I'll tell you what's so great about it, right? Is he's walking around here now wearing different shirts and stuff for a promotional outfit that the PFL, the Professional Fighters League, that Jake Paul is affiliated with. So it gives us somewhat of an indication that Francis Ngannou may be on his way to getting away for the UFC, whether it's indefinitely or just a temporary thing, to finally make the kind of money, or get close to making the kind of money that, he's deserved for such a long time. Now, the thing about this PFL, the Professional Fighters League, is a competitor company to Dana White's UFC. And that's perfect for Jake Paul. Jake Paul's even signed. He's set to make his MMA debut this year. When, I don't know. But the what's so interesting about all this is Jake Paul is heading up a new super fight division, and it was made to stage pay-per-view events for fighters who are already big names and can instantly draw paying customers, opposed to those guys that are still trying to build their names, build their profiles, build their platforms, and who are out here still kind of chasing titles. But Paul went on to say that anyone else in the division who's going to compete, they're going to receive, which is huge, right? 50% of the pay-per-view revenue. Now, we know in boxing, if these guys are selling 50,000 buys, 75,000 buys, that's not a lot of money. But when you think about Francis Ngannou and how loyal UFC fans are, his pay-per-view buys will be a lot more than 100,000. Okay? So in his first event, his first outing, he'll probably could be 13 times as much as what he's made since he's been fighting in the UFC. Okay, and that's really disappointing, and it's sad to know that that's happening. But the UFC has their pay model in place. It works for them. They have a lot of fights. The best fight the best. But at the end of the day, Dana White's a billionaire, and his guys are not. I think Conor McGregor has finally been able to insert himself more into almost a partnership with the UFC, opposed to just being a guy who takes whatever they give him. But, he's earned that right. And Conor McGregor, although he's been inactive, he's still a huge draw. Francis Ngannou is the heavyweight champion over there. What are we talking about? This man should be getting paid. So it is what it is. But we're going to see if he actually decides to go ahead and sign with this PFL, and see if he can get back in the ring this year, with Jake Paul in his corner. And that would be great. That would be great, because Ngannou's coach even went on and he said, He believes some big fights are out there for Francis Ngannou against John Jones, but he said he's just not sure what's going to happen. But a lot of things are out of their hands, but they're going to do what's best for Francis Ngannou. And I'll tell you what, if you don't know who Francis Ngannou is, the Cameroonian is a knockout artist. Now, if you don't know who he is and you follow any kind of combat sports, even if you just follow boxing, you've been sleeping underneath a damn rock. Because Francis Ngannou, let me tell you, that guy, I don't care who he fights in the boxing community. If he lands a shot, right, with those small gloves, there's a chance he could really disrupt the boxing world. But then again, boxing, MMA, two different things. Francis Ngannou can't grab you, can't kick you, can't grapple with you. And the guys in the boxing world have pretty good defense. But nonetheless, looking forward to seeing what they're going to do and what kind of money he's going to make. What we do know is Francis Ngannou was the king of the MMA heavyweights. And if he comes over to boxing, where he's only made, I think his last fight against Kane, he only made $500,000 US. He's going to get a sizable pay bump. And he's going to have the luxury and freedom to take boxing bouts against a Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, because we know Francis Ngannou against any of those guys has crossover appeal and is going to generate a lot of money. Will it do the type of numbers that Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather did? I don't know. But I think we can definitely get over 1 million pay-per-view buys if Francis Ngannou was to fight Deontay Wilder, if Francis Ngannou was to fight Tyson Fury, if Francis Ngannou was to fight AJ. And the uniqueness of Francis Ngannou and Anthony Joshua, for those of you who don't know, is, Anthony Joshua comes from a Nigerian heritage. So a lot of the Nigerians, a lot of the Cameroonians, a lot of the guys from Tanzania, the entire continent, African continent, they support and rate Anthony Joshua. So if Anthony Joshua and Francis Ngannou were to fight, and they were to take that to I don't know where in Africa they would take it. But let me tell you, that could set serious records as far as live gate, as far as pay-per-view, as far as everything, endorsement deals, all different modes of earning revenue, could set records. Then again, we have to wait and see because, Anthony Joshua, I don't even think at this point in his career, he'd want to get in with a Francis Ngannou in a boxing match because when you're mentally checked out, it's hard to get in there and focus when someone like Francis Ngannou hits you. So nonetheless, man, and Francis Ngannou will almost certainly get whatever he wants, whether it's the MMA world or boxing, but it's just a matter of time to see what's going to happen, if he's going to try to stay with the UFC, go with PFL, or, do something different. But that being said, good luck to Ngannou, Jake Paul. I know he's trying to get under Dana White's skin, but at the same time, he would be helping Ngannou. And the word on the street is Ngannou could be walking into a $3 million payday for his first boxing match. Again, that's 6 times as much what he made in his fight against Kane, January 22, over for the UFC. So it doesn't really take a rocket scientist to figure out what direction Ngannou needs to go. And it's only for 2 fights because his next fight will be MMA. So that being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all the Africans, people from all 7 continents. Y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.